for talking this morning. We'll go ahead and get started. I want to thank you all for being here today. We're a great crowd. I'm going to ask Ron Weigel of Synovus Bank to come forward and lead us in the invocation and pledge.
Y'all, let us pray. Lord God, thank you for your many blessings, most of all your grace. We're grateful for this country you give us to live in and thrive in, and this, more specifically, the community that you've given us here. All the gifts of the people in this room and the people represented. We just ask your continued blessing and grace on their works, whether or not it's the hospital, the school system, the first responders, whether or not it's our armed forces, the members of the armed forces, or just business leaders in the community. We just ask for your continued grace and blessings. You're in charge of all things. All good things come from you. We just want to glorify you in every way that we can. So just please have us desire to seek your will in all things. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Y'all stand and join me for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ron. Again, I want to thank you all for being here today and welcome you. We have a lot of civic leaders, elected officials, development partners, and special guests here today, so we want to introduce everyone. But I do want to recognize and introduce Colonel Brian Moore, commander of the 78th Base Wing here. This is his first breakfast this morning. Hopefully we'll get to see him at many more, but he's still on his welcome tour of about 2 months. So thank you, sir, for being here. And I want you to know that everybody in this room supports you, keeps you in our prayers, and is always here for you, anything you need. Thank you. At the last meeting, I was talking with Colonel Crumley, commander of the 116th, and he was telling me about a special group, Crew 8, who recently received an award, and we want to recognize them this morning. Colonel Crumley couldn't be here. His vice commander, Colonel Holbeck, is here, and I'd like to ask her to come forward, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So as he said, I'm Colonel Amy Holbeck, the Vice Wing Commander of the 116th Air Control Wing, and I was just officially named that on Saturday. So this is also my welcome. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm honored to be able to do this today, to make this recognition for Crew 8. For those who don't know, J-Stars is a combination of active duty and Guard members, and when we deploy, most often the Guard crew is always Crew 8. We call it Crew Ocho for fun. And so we have some members from Crew 8 from 2018. They have won a national level award, Crew of the Year for 2018. And their service was over in the Central Command Theater of Operations, doing what J-Stars does best, finding the bad guys so other people can go take care of business. So we want to recognize some of those folks here today. If you could, so when I call your name, if you could come up in front of the stage, please, we'll get some happy snaps. Captain Dan English was the aircraft commander for the crew. Lieutenant Colonel Dennis Duke, the mission crew commander. Captain Todd Swanson, airborne weapons officer. Senior Master Sergeant Ronnie Stevens, airborne radar technician. Master Sergeant Josh Likens, also an airborne radar technician. And the commander of the 128th Airborne Command and Control Squadron, from whom the crew is comprised, Lieutenant Colonel Mike Roy.
Thank you, Colonel. Thank you so much for your service. Congratulations on this award.
Thank you so much for allowing us to recognize you today. As Gary said, this room is filled with leaders for the community, and it would literally be 2 pages of text for us to read out everyone that's here. But we know that each and every one of you is special, not only to our chamber, but also to this community in Middle Georgia as a region, and we appreciate your participation here today. Programming like this would not be possible without our sponsors, so I do want to take a brief moment and just thank our presenting sponsors, House and Healthcare and Synovus, for allowing us to do this year-round. So we offer 8 of these breakfasts, and it's thanks in part to their continued support and sponsorship. Georgia Power is a silver level sponsor for us, as is Middle Georgia State University, and we appreciate all of them. And then today's program with the 21st Century Partnership is presented by GEC, and I'm going to ask Tom Driver to come up just for a moment and give a few remarks. If you would join me in thanking our sponsors.
Good morning. Like you said, I'm Tom Driver. I'm with the Geotechnical Environmental Consultants, or it's a lot easier to say GEC.
Yes.
We're real pleased to sponsor this breakfast today. We're continue our 28th year of business in the Middle Georgia area. We offer a variety of services in geotechnical engineering, environmental engineering, and construction quality control testing. So we've got a lot of clients here, so we appreciate the opportunity to serve you guys. Thank y'all for being here. Really excited to announce that earlier this year we were acquired by Terracon Consultants. Terracon is a national-based company based in Kansas City, and got over 150 offices and 5,000 employees, with about 300 of those in Georgia. So now we can serve Georgia from offices in Atlanta, Savannah, Athens, Macon, Columbus, and LaGrange. So we're really excited about the future of our company. I want to recognize some of our employees at the table up here. Most of these folks have been with us 15, maybe 20 years, and we just got a great group of folks here in Middle Georgia, and we're excited about them. So if you have any questions or if we can help you with anything, please grab one of those at the end of this. And we do a lot of work in Warner Robins. Robins Air Force Base has really been very important to us, and so we're just excited to be able to share the podium with you guys this morning. So thank you all very much.
Thank you to all of our sponsors. So today's program, if you're a frequent flyer of exit issues, this is brand new. So each year we feature conversations with our city leaders, with the county, with our state legislators, with the hospital, and education leaders here. And a lot of the things that they talk about are leveraged or due in part to their partnership with the 21st Century Partnership. So I was delighted that we were able to find an opportunity in the calendar to bring this critical group to this platform to share with you the great things going on. As you all know, there's a lot they can't talk about, but there's a lot that they can, and I'm excited to have them here joining me on the stage today. So at this time, I would like to call our panel forward. We have Ms. Chrissy Miner, President and CEO of the 21st Century Partnership, Dan Rhodes, COO of the partnership, Mr. Jamie Cook, who has a really long title that's in your program that I don't have in front of me. It has to do with STEM and workforce development, all-around guru, and then Brigadier General John Kamienic, the Warner Robins Air Logistic Complex. Please give them applause. Good morning. Thank you guys for joining me this morning. So this is how this is going to work. Since we've got 5 of us, Chrissy in general, you guys will share that microphone, and then when we need to shift over here, I'll just pass mine down and take yours if that's okay. So excited to finally get you guys here. And I think there may be a rumor that we wanted to dispel from the very beginning. So I don't see any gold coats. Do y'all sell real estate?
Well, we get phone calls pretty regularly, actually, which is funny. So no Century 21. So
they're still asleep. They didn't laugh. That was the joke.
I know, that was
the joke.
Yeah, I do know that they don't sell real estate.
And before we get in the programming, well, first and foremost, thank you for this opportunity to highlight the partnership and the things that we do. And the partnership really is symbolic in its name, because guess what? We work with everybody sitting in this audience pretty much on a regular basis. So First and foremost, thank you to all of you in the audience, because if you didn't do what you do, we certainly couldn't do what we do. So thank you to each and every one of you. I do want to give a special thanks to Chairman Tommy Stonecker and the House and County Commissioners for their annual support, the City of Warner Robins, Mayor Tom and Council for their annual support, plus the Middle Georgia cities and counties. They support us as well. So certainly want to give a big thanks to them. Our presenting sponsors and our landlord, very important, Mr. Wayne Lowe in the park, Robins Financial Credit Union, 5-Star Automotive, Jeff Smith Automotive, Georgia Power, and our platinum sponsors, Blunt, Parish Construction, Kings Bank, Cox, BBT, and Merck. And plus we have a tremendous amount of community sponsors that help us to keep the lights on and do what we do every day. So I definitely want to highlight them right off the bat. I want to thank our board members. Our board chairman, Mr. Dan Slagle, is right in front of me, so he can shoot me dirty looks if I say something that doesn't align with what he thinks I should say. And Mr. Bob Hatcher couldn't be here this morning. He's our 501c3, the tax deductible piece of the partnership. He's our 501c3 chairman. And I do see Representative Blackman. Our legislators are a critical part of what we do and who we work with every day. So now to circle back to your question, April, sorry. So the 21st Century Partnership was born out of a BRAC. And it's been so long since we had a base realignment and closure action, 2005 was the last, that a lot of folks have really forgotten what exactly is a base realignment and closure. So the Department of Defense, every year they come out with an authorization and an appropriation. And in that process, the president can or cannot recommend a base realignment and closure action. If the department says, hey boss, we've got too much infrastructure, we need to reduce costs, we think that if we shutter some facilities, consolidate some things, just like all of you in the business world are well familiar with, the same thing happens within the Department of Defense. And so if a base realignment and closure is recommended, again, that flows through and there's a committee that evaluates it, and then it goes through the legislative process. But essentially the last one that occurred was in 2005. The 2005 round was very good for Robins. We actually gained missions, which is in the position that we want to be in the future, which is why we're very proactive in our efforts, because we want to be a winner and not a loser in that process. Previous rounds, we didn't fare so well. We were actually on a closure list at one point, believe it or not, back in the early 90s. Senator Sam Nunn spawned the community with leaders such as Bob Hatcher, Mr. George Israel, Eddie Wiggins, and said, hey guys, we're on this list and we need to get to work now. They raised $750,000 in 40 days. You know, nothing helps you fundraise than telling you that your economic engine is going on. So, and at that point when the partnership stood up, it was a reactive, right? But that was more than 2 decades ago. So the great news is that we've been able to pivot throughout the years. And we've gone from a very reactive stance to a very proactive stance, which has been, again, tremendously helpful when we have to address issues.
Well, Chrissy, you and Dan have been at the partnership both about 2 years now. Can you share a little bit? You talk about not being reactive. So, as you like to say, playing offense and defense. What are some of the things, how you have focused your effort over these past 2 years?
Absolutely. So given the fact that it is football season, I'm going to go ahead and break this down into offense and defense, right? And that's really the best way that I can describe how we operate, because there's things that we can control and there's things that we can't control. For an example, when Dan and I were brought on board, 1 week to the day, the Air Force said that they were eliminating JSTARS major weapon system. And so that was a reactive, you know, and of course we've been certainly pushing ever since to make sure that we can work a follow-on weapon system and support our current operations here at Robins Air Force Base. But of course we're very closely with our legislatures in seeing what is the future and how is that going to look. And the good news is the future looks really great for us with advanced battle management system. Dan will probably jump into that a little bit later. So that's a great example of defense, right? We're on the defensive. But from the offensive side, we work very closely with base leadership and initiatives like 1200 responsibilities for them to facilitate the hiring and the surge of 1,200 people coming on base. So things like that, things we control, things we can't control. Every year when that National Defense Authorization Act and Appropriations Act goes through, we work very, very closely with our legislators to make sure that anything that's advantageous to Robbins goes, and if it's not advantageous to Robbins, it goes down the toilet, right? I do want to give a special shout out to our state legislature because they have worked amazing efforts in passing military-friendly bills. So right now, we are the most militarily friendly state in the union. And that, thank you. That wasn't a long, drawn-out process. That was a 4-year period that they passed 34 bills, which is pretty darn amazing. So a great collective effort was made on their part to, get us to that point, and we very much appreciate that.
Very good. General Kubinick, thank you so much for joining us alongside the partnership today. We get the opportunity to hear from you at State of the Base, so this is a real treat for us. But can you speak to how the partnership helps you and your team with the resources needed to see your mission through?
You bet. Thanks, April. Good morning, everybody. How are we doing today? Doing all right? Yeah, well, if I could just take a second first. I figured you'd let me do that anyway. I just want to make sure that everyone, if you haven't had a chance to meet the new Deputy Commander of Air Force Reserve Command, Major General Jay Flournoy, is with us today. He's hiding behind. There he is, right there, sir. General Flournoy has been out in a bunch of forums, probably not this forum, so a lot of you maybe not had a chance to meet General Flournoy yet, so please do that. It's also great to have Colonel Goebel, Commander of the 461st here, Wavo, good to see you, and Miss Emily J. Our senior civilian on the base is here somewhere too. I saw Emily, thank you for being here. Also want to just take a second for all of us to recognize Chief Wagner and all of his first responders that are here today. Chief, thank you, and thank you and all of your folks for what you do for us each and every day. Round of applause for them. Representative Blackman, good to see you, sir. Thank you. That support that Chrissy talked about that the state gives, that doesn't just happen. That happens because your state or representatives, your state senators work hard to ensure that the laws in this state can support Robbins Air Force Base and support the military. When you have a state like Georgia that has 9 major military installations, it's tough to get love for any one in particular. But our delegation has done tremendous work. Everything we've asked them, everything the Chief of Staff has come down and said, here are the things that I need, that I need from an installation to be a good installation. The state has done that. And thanks to Representative Blackman's leadership and the delegation. So thank you, sir. Appreciate that very much. And you know how, yeah, go ahead, go for that. And how they get that information is 21st Century Partnership. So I'm here just to do a testimonial for the customer, if you will, of the 21st Century Partnership and what they do for us. I'll be frank. There are some things that all of us in uniform just can't say, right? But we could whisper to these great people, and they could say things for us. I'll deny it if you say that I said that. I'll deny it. But they can't. There are some things we can't say that they can. There are avenues that the partnership has and contacts they have that we simply don't. So if you're ever thinking, well, we're not in danger of closing. Well, who would close Robbins Air Force Base? I'm not going to talk about BRAC here, but let me tell you, the value of this partnership is tremendous for this community and for this space. Without the work that Chrissy and Dan and Jamie and Pat and Judy and all the others do every day, we just simply don't have the same kind of support. When we say it every day in Little Georgia is Armed Forces Appreciation Day, you all show that and live it by what you do in your businesses, by what you do in your cities and your government. The entity that ties that all together is the partnership. They're the ones that tie it together. Let me tell you a couple other things. Now, most commanders are here for about 2 years and then they leave. Some of us, dig in and don't want to go, like me, so I'm not going anywhere. But most commanders change out every 2 years. And when you're a new commander, if you haven't been assigned to Robbins before and you come into Robbins Air Force Base, you need a bit of a decoder ring sometimes. And I know, I'll just give you a story. When I took over as the installation commander in Albuquerque, New Mexico, at Kirtland Air Force Base, the very first note I got from anybody in New Mexico was from their person that ran their partnership. They didn't do near as well as this partnership does. But that's the kind of translation, that's the kind of secret decoder ring, that's the kind of connector that the partnership can be with new commanders like Colonel Moore when he comes in. We need to have that. We need to have that organization, and we need that person like Chrissy Meyer that can do that. Here's another story. So we're getting ready to hire 1,200 people last year. You remember that? We actually did it. We hired 1,200 new employees at the ALC, which was a great accomplishment. We were sitting in a meeting in my conference room, and we wanted to invite the partnership. Chrissy came as the partnership there to that meeting as we talked about how are we going to go about hiring all these folks. So we wanted to create a website that people could go to. And in our great bureaucracy that we have in the government and the United States Air Force, our team, came up with this great website that had, it was like WXYZ.2.3.4, at Robbins, all this kind of stuff. It's something that no one could ever remember. And it was behind our firewall. It was going to be really hard. And I got a little bit frustrated in this meeting, and I blurted out, why can't we just have something like workatrobbins.com? Well, how can it be so hard? We went about the rest of our meeting, and it was about 10 minutes later, and Chrissy said, I just have something for you. I just, on her little Apple laptop there in my conference room, says, I just purchased workatrobbins.com. The partnership will maintain that website for you so that people have a place to go if they want to have a job at Robbins. That's what the partnership does. You can clap for that. And each and every day, what the partnership really does is supports Crew Ocho and all the men and women at Robbins Air Force Base. You have a underappreciated resource in the partnership to support this great base and this great community.
Awesome. All right, Chrissy, back to you. So give us some examples, kind of how these efforts have borne fruit. General Bennett mentioned the 1,212, the website. Of course, there's a big banner when you came in announcing us as the Great American Defense Community. Give us a little more behind the scenes on some of those.
Sure. So we were very honored as a community, and we do have some stickers for you to take with you, some window clings. We are a 2019 Great American Defense Communities recipient, which means we are one of 5 communities that was highlighted at a national level for the wonderful things that we've done in this community. So we put in a package that detailed some of our very successful efforts, like resolving encroachment on the north end of the base, our amazing Vector Center. Trish Ross is here. And essentially we were awarded this, so please take one of those window clings and proudly display that in your business window, because we certainly earned it for the wonderful things that this community has done. So the day in, day out is really protect those missions that we have and look to grow new missions here. And we do that every day. So how do we do that? Again, with the 12 Ps, with JSTARS and the follow-on Advanced Mail Management System. What is that going to look like? How do we work those efforts? And that's kind of where Jamie came into the picture, right? We have a laser-like focus on the legislative process, both at the state and federal level. But what is everybody in this room talking about right now? Workforce, right? And I have the unique perspective of not being the president, but being the COO of the partnership. We were going through that little thing called sequestration. And Secretary Bob McMahon, who was Major General retired Bob McMahon at the time, was my boss, and we were holding community town halls to educate folks on resources that they could have access to when a majority of our civilian workforce on base was furloughed. So we are unique in that we have a majority civilian workforce at Robbins Air Force Base. So when we talk about things like continuing resolutions and non-funding of the DoD budget, that's tremendously impactful to our base. And in that tough economy, it was all about sequestration and taking care of our civilian workforce and how do we get through this rough patch. Well, now let's flip the coin, right? The economy's doing great and things are well. So, okay, what's our topic now, we're not holding town halls telling people how they're gonna pay their light bill. What we're doing is we've got the workforce challenges at Robins Air Force Base, just as much as everybody else. And so that entree, Mr. Jamie Cook, one successful key to leadership is to hire people smarter than you. Example, right there, those two at the end. Jamie was the chief recruiting engineer for the base. 15 years of wonderful experience recruiting engineers to our base. You don't want to just let that go, right? So Jamie has taken his experience, he's pivoted to the community, and he's being very proactive in going out to rural communities and introducing new robotics teams. Things that are going to ignite those light bulbs, in kids. And Jake Flesher, I saw him here somewhere, Firestarter, working with them to introduce programming, get kids interested in science, technology, and math. Oh, and then we point them over to the Museum of Aviation, where they have world-class education with Melissa Spalding and the National STEM Academy, right? So we're just connecting those dots, right? And we hope that in those efforts, they're going to work for General Benson or your successor. I mean, he's been here for 4 years. We could stretch this out a little bit more. You never know. But and that's the hope. If I were to say anything, we're a strategic organization. We shouldn't see immediately the results and the fruits of our labor, right? Because the things that we do are strategic. We're trying to point the needle in the right direction in hopes that in a few years that when a BRAC is announced, they go, Robins is great. Yeah. Robins is in good shape, right?
I want to park for just a minute on Jamie, and I have your title written here, Jamie, as STEM Outreach and Workforce Coordinator. And as Chrissy mentioned, your expertise in recruiting engineers, so you still have a focus of going to college and working with engineers to meet immediate and near future job opportunities, but you also work with kids. I mean, your work goes all the way down to elementary kids, and I want you to tell us a little bit about how you do the work that you set out to do each day on the SWAT line. So, Chrissy.
Thank you, April, and good morning, everyone. It's a privilege to be a part of this great organization, and I was thrilled when Chrissy called me after I announced my retirement from Robins. She said, "Do you want to keep doing STEM?" Of course I do. Well, how about coming to us? We'll pay you a little bit, and you just do what you need to do, and let me know if you need me. And that's just a great way to start a retirement opportunity. STEM Outreach is basically supply chain management. If you think about it, with the mission of the partnership is to support the military value of Robins Air Force Base, and part of that also leads into the community economic development. That supply chain for tomorrow's workforce, which requires the skills of science, technology, engineering, and math, begins in kindergarten. It's a supply chain. It's a rather long supply chain, but a supply chain which produces a product, as General Kamitic said, he's the customer, it produces a product, there's a demand, there's a supply-demand relationship. The demand is the business, the industries, and Robins Air Force Base looking to hire that supply that comes out of that supply chain. So what STEM Outreach is the management of that supply chain. The demand forecasts are driving what that supply chain needs to produce. It provides the information about the jobs, the careers, the qualifications for those careers, and it reaches into, the demand reaches into the supply chain to help make sure that the product coming out of that supply chain has those skill sets that are needed. Again, starting with kindergarten. Every year, the students coming through Dr. Scott's public school program, the other private school and homeschool programs, every year the teachers are giving those students a new tool for their STEM toolbox to prepare them for the jobs and the careers that will be available to them when they get out. And creating the awareness. This is why when Jackie raises his hand in public school, why do I need to study algebra? Well, the teacher can say, because there are jobs at Robins Air Force Base that involve GPS, or that involve metallurgy, or that involve tightening a wrench on a C5 wheel. These are the reasons that you have to study algebra. And so that's what's supply chain, that's the supply chain management of STEM outreach. And it actually has a public law feature, because in public law, Title 10, United States Code 2192, defines the roles and responsibilities of the Secretary of Defense as being involved in the education process for science, technology, engineering, and math to create the next generation of workforce, which is a national defense imperative. So STEM outreach is connecting the dots of STEM goodness all across Middle Georgia.
Thank you for that. And Dan, I'm gonna kick the next question to you. So one of the things that we often talk about, especially recently, is sort of an untapped resource when it comes to workforce. So when we have the great pleasure of getting new military members into our community, many of them are bringing highly qualified spouses with them, who oftentimes are become unemployed or underemployed here. And in addition to those technical jobs on base, I know, and this, one of you is probably going to say this, but the multiplier effect of being over a job and a half that's created in the community, for every job we've got on base, we have a talent pool here to pull from, and we've entered into an exciting partnership. And I'm going to momentarily lift my ban on acronyms for you to talk to us about the MCs.
Well, and I can, I'll try to explain the acronym on this. So it's a fantastic partnership. The U.S. Chamber came up with a program called Hiring Our Heroes. Within the Hiring Our Heroes program, they have the Military Spouse Economic Empowerment Zone, MCs. Yes. That you're terming them. So they introduced that in Atlanta. We partnered with the Robbins Regional and with the Spouses Club on Base to bring that program here to Middle Georgia. It's a fantastic program. It's focused entirely on the military spouses and making sure that they have employment opportunities and building that partnership with the businesses in the community. So explaining to the community, explaining to those businesses why it's important that they hire the military spouses and what benefits they're going to get out of that. So locally, there's a group that's going to stand up a chapter of the Military Spouse Professional Network. It's getting ready to stand up. Should have an announcement sometime in November in partnership with the Robbins Regional Chamber. And it's going to be led by Matthew Eller and Patricia Hart, a couple of names you guys probably recognize. And the goal, their stated goal, is that they're going to empower military spouses at the grassroots level year-round. Well, okay, so what does that mean? Military spouses have some unique capabilities. Not too many civilians have the opportunity to move every 2 to 4 years, and by doing that, they gain a capability in that soft skills level at being able to fit into a new community very quickly, to build professional networks, to be adaptable. All the things that you need as an individual. One of the things that we've heard from the business community is, well, we want a return on investment on the people that we hire. So are we going to get that from our military spouses? Well, actually, if you start to look at the actual statistics, millennials, for instance, no offense to any millennials in here, millennials have a 2.8, on average, 2.8 year turnover rate. So your military spouses are going to be at your business working for you for anywhere from 3 to 4 years. So that's a fantastic asset that the businesses can take advantage of. So that's just a little bit on that. You'll hear more as they make their announcements and get out there. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, so I'd just like to echo what you said about military spouses. So when you think as an employer, I mean, oftentimes employers are talking to us as the chamber, they're talking to the partnership about their workforce challenges. And one of the things we hear kind of on repeat is, I can't keep anybody a year or 18 months. If you've got the opportunity to keep somebody 2, 3, 4 years that's coming in with built-in skill set there, they obviously have loyalty to the lifestyle they're leading. They're going to share that loyalty with their employer. I think it really is a mindset shift for employers, and they are going to be having a kickoff event in November. If I can have where are they? I can't see that. Okay, all right. So Trisha, Casey, and Ashley are over here in the corner. Y'all wave again, ladies. They have left, absolutely. Service member sacrifice is spouse sacrifice, so we appreciate you guys and all that you do. But they have provided materials on your tables for employers to take a look at. They're going to be holding a kickoff in November out at the Vector Center, and they're going to be at the table in this corner as you exit. I challenge you all, if you've got positions that you're having trouble with turnover, or they have high-level skills in nursing, in real estate, in teaching, in all kind of different professions that they come into this community with. So I encourage you to hear what they have to say, to attend their event in November and learn a little bit more about how your business can be involved.
I actually have some stats on that as well. 88% have a post-secondary education. 34% have undergraduate degrees. 15% hold postgrads. And they're underemployed. 50% are underemployed, and 12% are unemployed currently. So that's an untapped resource within our community.
So General Kabinet, I'm gonna pop to you next. My questions are a little out of order, so y'all don't freak out. So we have seen the start of several new partnerships with Central Georgia Tech, Fort Valley State, Mercer, for example. Can we look forward to more partnerships in the future? And is there anything you would like to see the community focus on for the future?
Well, first of all, let me say, so what you've heard so far here this morning, you've heard everything from workforce development for the future that Jamie is doing on behalf of the 21st Century Partnership. You heard taking care of our military spouses, which I am one too, which I like that, so that's all good. Yeah. To very strategic things about what work is going to be done here and the work that the partnership does with people like Greg Siesenheim and Senator Perdue and our congressional delegation. So you're getting a glimpse of what all this organization does. It runs the gamut from anything. And I was thinking some more as I was, after I answered the first time, I was trying to think of any type of community engagement that I've done, any big major project that I've done that hasn't involved the partnership, and I can't think of one. So some of the community partnerships we have, one of the ones I'm most proud of right now is the work that we've have done with Central Georgia Tech. I know Jeff Scruggs is here today. Did Dr. Allen sneak in? There he is. My good friend Dr. Allen, sir, and with Make and Bid and the Industrial Authority there at the Middle Georgia Regional Airport. We now have what was an abandoned maintenance facility when Boeing up and left. And we now have a facility that's going to house both Central Georgia Technical College students that are working on their airframe and power plant license, and our technicians that are doing that work each and every day. In fact, we have our first workload up there. Colonel Moore and I just went there yesterday to check it out. That is an unbelievable partnership and really a groundbreaking partnership in our nation to co-locate maintenance, repair, and overhaul with the technical college that's going to be producing that workforce in the future. I don't know that we do that anywhere else in our Department of Defense. And we got to that in part because I had the partnership engaged from the beginning and working the contacts that they have that I don't have or that I can't have. And so that's a great example of a community partnership there. We're getting ready to do more with our universities. We do so much with our universities. We do a lot with Fort Valley State on our supply chain, as we have a need for workforce and supply chain. We've partnered with them on that. I'm excited about some future partnerships with Middle Georgia State University that we have in the works. And how does that get started? Chrissy calls me and says, "Can you come and sit down and meet with me and Dr. Blake?" That's how these partnerships work. And then at Mercer, Jamie was just up with me at Mercer and Colonel Moore the other day. We met with over 200 engineering students up there, and we were here. You all will like this. Get this. So we're trying to figure out how we can hire people, engineers, in a very competitive environment. And so we've talked to a lot of people, including our partnership, on what do we need to do. We were offering relocation allowances and bonuses for people when they came in, and we realized that most kids, when they're coming out of college, they don't have much that doesn't fit the back of their truck. So relocation bonus isn't that big of a deal. So what our great folks in the software engineering group have done recently is said, well, let's take that money and put it towards student loan repayment. So we were able to announce at Mercer in front of all these students the other day that we're gonna offer $30,000 in student loan repayment for engineers that wanna come and work at Robins Air Force Base. That's a huge thing. And so I think that partnership, as we continue, an area that's gonna continue to grow, as we look what advanced battle management system is gonna look like in the future, as we look at unmanned systems and that work that's gonna be done here at Robins, as we look at software growth, which is growing exponentially in our business, all of that needs that qualified workforce. And that's why the partnerships with the universities and the partnership with the partnership is so important to us.
Very good. So if you'll hang on to the mic, we are beginning to hear discussion or a murmur about community basing. Can you explain what that is and how it will work?
I think we do community basing. I don't know what definition you have for community basing, but my definition, that's what we do right now. That's what we do today. The fact that have my workforce at the Middle Georgia Regional Airport, right next to Dr. Allen's students, that's community basing. The fact that we're gonna do some software work up in downtown Macon before too long, that's community basing in my book. So I don't know what that definition is, but I do think it's smart for all of us to think about what the future of Robins is gonna look like in 10, 20 years. What kind of budget constraints will we have as a nation? How much will our future weapon systems cost? And how long will we be able to afford the same model of basing that we have since the Air Force started in 1947? Are we gonna be able to have all the things that we currently provide for our airmen in 10 years and 20 years? Are we gonna be able to have a city within a city? Are we gonna be able to afford that as a nation and as an Air Force? I don't know the answer to that, but I think you could tell there's a good chance that answer is we're gonna have to do things a little bit differently in the future. I don't know what that looks like, but I know there's good potential for it. And so when you have that on the horizon as a potential, you need more and more. You need an organization like 21st Century Partnership that's gonna help bridge those gaps between the community. I could see us being the Air Force in the future, asking more and more of you. Are we gonna be able to continue to provide lodging, continue to provide the health care we provide for all of our beneficiaries now in the future? All of those things could change, and we may be coming to you to say we need more from the community. That's community basing in my mind. I don't know if it's the formal definition. I say we're doing it now, and we may have to do it even more in the future.
Well, along those lines, Chrissy, I want to ask you, with that in mind, what is the focus for the community? So we always like to walk away with what the community can do to support this, and how can we work together to tackle the issues needed to ensure Robins is a long-term asset to the Department of Defense?
Well, I'd say you're definitely doing it. And again, to piggyback on what General Kubinick said, it is it's an octopus, right? There's so many tentacles on this animal. And for us to address it, and again, most of you know, as I mentioned, first and foremost, I thank everybody in this room because it is really true. We work with every single one of you, and it's a necessity. And that's the only thing that makes us successful in this process. So I would say that as we continue to roll out new initiatives and we start talking about software development and things of that nature, and how do we model our workforce in the future to best support the missions at Robins Air Force Base, not just here today, but in the future, because again, we have to take that strategic view. It's to help us and support us in those efforts. And I have zero complaints. Again, we've had great support financially, and of course, and through just support of furthering our initiatives, which has been, tremendously helpful. But more to come on that.
Okay, very good. I'm going to kick it to this side again, Dan, so I don't think you and I have a conversation that the word innovation doesn't come up at least once or 15 times. So can you share with us what innovations, projects you're working on currently?
Thank you so much for the question. So, give you a little bit of history on Chrissy highlighted the fact that as soon as we joined, the JSTARS announcement was made, and very shortly after that, the Advanced Battle Management System was announced for Middle Georgia. Okay, well, what does that mean? What all is involved in that? What's contained within that system, and what's that going to look like for the future? Very shortly after that, we also had the Middle Georgia Charrette Regional Planning effort that we were working with Houston County and all the community leaders throughout the community. A lot of the people that are in here were at those events too. Between those two events, one of the things that I started to notice is innovation is key. If you're looking at where the Air Force is going in the future, they're looking for agile development of weapon systems, they're looking for agile development of software, and they're basing their newest systems on architecture first, adding hardware later. One of the things that I just recently saw from Gerald Goldfein, the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, is he said that the next war is going to be won by devices. Or not by devices, but by applications. So it's going to be the technology that is driving it. We can build the hardware to fit within what that software needs to be able to operate. So it's a way of changing our view. As I started doing the investigation across Middle Georgia, one of the things that I discovered is we're pretty darn innovative here in Middle Georgia. It's amazing the types of things that we have going on that I had not heard people talking about. Just some examples. Did everybody know in here that we have one of the largest software factories in the Air Force here at Robins Air Force Base? It's huge. They have 1,200 people working there, developing software, developing cutting-edge technology into the future. We have Mercer and Merck that are doing innovative things. GTRI, MGA, CGTC, Fort Valley State University is doing precision agriculture. I can guarantee you there's some military applications for the way they're using their drones and their automation, AI, and big data processes. So once you start looking at it, okay, so our colleges and universities are innovative, absolutely. Robins, you would expect that as well. Our businesses are too. Navicent has a Center for Disruption and Innovation. It's a fantastic organization. Total Computer Solutions is doing innovative work in computers. Central Piedmont Investment Group is looking to make sure that they're getting all of the right people in the community with the funds to be able to develop new technologies in the future. So the future is now. The things that we need to be doing in agile development, and it's not just software. So we talk a lot about software, but in the end, it's agile development of business processes. It's agile development of new technologies, new capabilities. We do a lot of that in this community already. It's, at this point, our challenge to you is to identify all of those centers of innovation and let people know about them. Let's pop the top off of all of the silos and get people talking about the innovation that we already have going on. Because I can guarantee you, we need to let Department of Defense and the Air Force know this. Because when Advanced Battle Management System is being developed, which by the way is now, we want to be a part of that. We want that headquartered here, we want to develop it here, and we want the processes being done here.
Jamie, you talked a little bit about what you do in STEM and workforce development. How can we as a business community support the STEM workforce pipeline and the Middle Georgia STEM Alliance?
April, that is my favorite question. Thank you. Nearly everyone in this room is part of that supply chain that I mentioned. You're either on the demand side as part of the business and industry of Houston County and Middle Georgia, or you're on the supply side from the education standpoint, the public education system. Dr. Allen with the technical college, the other universities around here. You're either supplying that workforce or you have a demand pulling that workforce through that supply chain. It's to our collective best interest to engage in that supply chain from whichever direction you're coming. If you're on the demand side, invest some time. Just a few hours a month would make a difference. Talk to students in the public education system in Central Georgia Tech. Participate in career days. National STEM Academy has a lot of STEM programs, weekends, summer camps. They're always looking for teachers, for presenters, for coaches and mentors for the competitive robotics programs that are supported around the area. Just looking for some folks to invest themselves in tomorrow's workforce. And you can do that. Middle Georgia STEM Alliance was created by the partnership several years ago to form that ecosystem that allows for that collaboration. It's a website, Please contribute to the website, things that are going on in your community, in your area with your supply or demand, that you can provide information to the public, to the students, to the parents who are the recipients of that information. Follow us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page for the Middle Georgia STEM Alliance that provides information to the public, announcing the various activities, recognizing the things that are going on, the goodness around Middle Georgia. And participate in that. Join with us in connecting those dots of STEM goodness across Middle Georgia.
Thank you, Jamie. And before I ask Dan this last question, I'll kick to you. I do want to remind everybody there are note cards on your table. If you have questions about something we've touched on or something that we haven't, I encourage you to take a moment and write those down. And then the chamber staff, our lovely ladies are all around the room. You can just hold your hand up and they'll come by and grab those questions. So Dan, we talked about smart technologies. We talked about innovation. Another area of concern for the partnership, maybe one that we often here don't think applies to us, but that's rural prosperity. Can you speak to how that impacts Robins Air Force Base?
Indeed. Before I do that, there is one thing that I would like to announce. Jay Flesher is getting ready to have a software event. It's going to be at it's fire starters as well. It's going to be at the old Wellston Station, 20 September. I would encourage you guys, if you're interested in joining, please do so. It's going to be great. Going to have all levels of people in software. It's mostly Python coding, but there'll be other things as well. And Jay, I'm sure, will be able to articulate better than I on that one. So rural prosperity is of concern for the 21st Century Partnership. Why would that be? Why are we concerned with that aspect of it? Each of our bases, if you look at a map, the vast majority of bases in this state, certainly all of them but one, are surrounded by rural communities. By the way, that applies to every state. Those rural communities have the workforce of the future that we need to be able to do the jobs that we're doing at Robins Air Force Base. If those communities are not doing well, we're not going to be able to succeed in our mission. So we have been working with the Georgia Chamber and all of our other defense communities and building a partnership with them to make sure that we're taking a look at what we need to be able to advance all of our rural communities, getting them rural broadband, helping them out with STEM programs, FIRST Robotics, connecting them with the types of programs that can help increase the innovation within their own communities, because that does develop our workforce of the future, those kids that are there. And, oh, by the way, if they're innovative, that's going to be more attractive to businesses in the future, which just helps out all of Middle Georgia.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to ask the question and then y'all just fight for the mic because I don't know who wants to answer it. So what, as a business community, do we need to do or provide so that we can be in the best position to capitalize as the innovation center for software?
I'll take it. Absolutely. So what can you do as a business? One, take a look at your processes, the things that you have going on, and see how you can develop agile, how you can incorporate agile type systems within your own processes. That starts to build that culture of innovation within the community. We need to be taking a look at the things that we're doing throughout our community. So find those centers of innovation, attach to them. Make sure that you're partnering with them to see what capabilities they have that you can then bring back to your own business, but also what ideas you can then take to that agile development area. Start partnering and working together more to make sure that we are positioning ourselves as the best partner for the Air Force on future workforce and future missions. By the way, with Advanced Battle Management System, some of those jobs don't even exist today. Let's position ourselves in this community so that we're able to gain access to those jobs. That technology is being developed here in Middle Georgia.
Very good. And to piggyback on this, that is the excellence in innovation. This is not a question, but good to know that SOF PR, so that's Special Operations Personnel Recovery Program Office has a CIO, and that's a Chief Innovation Officer, Captain Michael Black. And then Robbins Air Force Base is the home of one of the 12 Air Force Outstanding Airmen of the Year, Master Sergeant Jaharda Brown. So let's give that special recognition.
And another one that I'll add, and oh, by the way, I don't have the complete list. I would love to know all the centers of innovation that we have. We have an AFWorks organization at Robbins Air Force Base as well. One of the few in the nation, and it's run by Jay Biscari out of the 461st, I believe. And they're looking at ways that we can build innovation within our community too.
Very good. Chrissy, panel, anything else you would like to add? As you guys can tell, we probably got about 2 hours worth of material that we're trying to pack into this hour. General Benny.
I want you to walk away with one thing. The partnership is not just these people you see here and Pat and Judy. Those are the people that full-time think about how they support Robbins Air Force Base. The true power of the 21st Century Partnership is in this room. The true power of the partnership is this community. It's our government officials. It's our business leaders. That's where the true power of the 21st Century Partnership. And on behalf of the men and women at Robbins Air Force Base, we thank you for that.
And that's well said, John.
Thank you.
Yeah, we certainly couldn't do what we do without you, so we appreciate your support on all levels. And you know, I just really want to give a very special thanks to April and the Chamber for giving us this opportunity. And hopefully when somebody says that we're a great real estate company, that you can correct them. We're involved in making sure that real estate agents are doing well and selling lots of homes, but yeah, we don't sell real estate.
Very good. Please join me in thanking our panel for their So if you've seen our emails recently, you know we've got a lot going on. Today is a 2 for Thursday. We're going to be together once again at 5:30 this evening over at Morris Bank on House Hill Lake Road. We'll be hosted by Morris Bank and James Bates Banning Gruber LLP. We hope you'll join us for a great evening of network building, great food, and a lot of fun. And then next week, so we talk a lot about our elected leadership. You've probably run into, there's a lot of candidates running for office that are in the room. If you haven't run into them, I promise they'll run into you before you leave. But our upcoming elections are critical for the advancement of our community. The things that you heard up here don't just happen by accident. They are intentional partnerships with the base, community leadership, as well as our elected officials and governments. So next Tuesday, September the 17th, we will be hosting a candidate forum for the council positions for the city of Warner Robins out at Central Georgia Technical College at 6:00 p.m. That event will be live streamed on 13 WMAZ, so if you're not able to be there, that'll be available for people to watch, and then we'll record it in long form so we can share the candidate responses. I know many of you don't live in one of our cities, but you have businesses that depend on our cities thriving and being successful. So if you hear something you like or you don't like, please engage in that dialogue. And then next Thursday, September 19th, we'll be over in Centerville in their community center at City Hall, interviewing and hosting a moderated panel with the candidates running for those seats. So lots going on, and then we're going to be right back here next month, and I really can't wait, Charles. I'm excited for you guys to hear about the wonderful things going on at House and Healthcare. So I encourage you, go ahead and register for that breakfast. Creekside Catering does an amazing job every time. Y'all please give them a round of applause. Every month we're adding to that order and adding the number of people, and they continue to accommodate us. Al and the staff here, we couldn't thank you enough for all that you do. One last thank you to our sponsors. Thank you all for being here. It means a lot to be trusted as a voice to share this great information, because I don't think we can champion enough the great things that are going on here. So we look forward to seeing most of you tonight. And with that, we're dismissed.